Hey, it's Vanessa, and welcome back to Born to Build the New. In today's episode, we are talking about when you struggle with completion. So if you have ever found yourself holding back from finishing the thing, whatever the thing is, you're going to want to tune into this episode. Now, before we dive into the details, as always, love to introduce myself. I'm Vanessa Smith, host of Born to Build the New and energy guide, identity seer. Love to talk about the paradigm shift, which is what we are living through right now. Paradigm is simply a model, and we're moving from the model of old systems and structures that are built more on fear and limitation. We're moving out of those models and into something very different. What that looks like is actually going to depend on you, because we are meant to build it. The new paradigm comes through us, and you're meant to apply your unique gifts to the build of the new. So this podcast really addresses what comes up along the way, the mess and the mission, both of those. So with that being said, let's just jump into the topic at hand, which is all about completion. I am very, very familiar with this topic. I have noticed, not only in my own life, personally, the struggle to complete certain things, but it seems to be who I often attract into my world as clients. No matter what they are saying they're coming to me for, whatever it is that they think we're going to accomplish together, there is always some element of, I need to finish this thing. I need to close out this cycle. I need to let go of being this version of myself. I need to release my expectations so I can then better complete the thing, so I could do what I'm here to do, so I can put it out into the world. Because oftentimes we spend a lot of our energy in the development process. And that's what it's like with the build, right? There's always some iteration that's happening. There's always some level of refinement, assessment, but you can't get to that next level unless you allow yourself to come to completion with where you're currently at. I'm going to talk about this from a couple different angles and explore some of the edges also that come up for us when we're trying to complete. But first, I just wanted to share from a more personal perspective, just so you know how much I really do get this, and then also speak a bit around human design. There's three specific, what do you call them? Gates. They're called gates in human design that connect directly with your ability to complete things, and basically your struggle with completing something. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and then we'll explore how it might show up for you. So first, my story with completion has been a very long journey. It wasn't actually until, I would say, the last couple of years that I felt more of an accomplished sense of completion, like, oh my gosh, I actually completed this thing. And we think of completion, so much around something that we want to create and finish so we can put out into the world. Like it's a task of some sort, but the task will never get complete unless you complete something within yourself first. And I had to learn that the hard way. As pretty much everything I share with you on this podcast, I have had to learn the hard way, which is why I'm an effective guide and mentor, because I get it. I've walked through the fire, and I have a unique combination of energy reading and in highly developed intuitive skills that help me navigate those sticky parts of life for myself and for other people. But I will tell you this, my experience in college was one of massive incompletion. I took 9 years to go through college. And during that time, I transferred schools 3 times. So I started off at San Diego State, and then I had a bit of a crisis, or a bit of a breakdown, because my just to give you a little bit of context, my dad had passed away the day before I left for college. And I left anyway because I was having a hard time coping, and I just needed to go somewhere. So I ended up at San Diego State. Then I came home and I went to like a junior college. And I was there for, I think, 2 years. And then I went back to San Diego State. And then I was there for a year. And then I left there. And then I went up to Chico State University. These are all over in California. And so my total amount of time in university was 9 years. Okay, university is generally supposed to be a 4-year journey, and mine was more than double that. During that time, I changed majors multiple times. I was on student government. I was really all over the place. But I was following my intuition. I was following my own energy, my own rhythm. But what I didn't realize is that underneath the surface, I was really struggling to let college be complete for me. And it actually linked directly back to my dad passing, is I never allowed myself the space to grieve. I never allowed myself the room to just acknowledge what a life-changing incident it is to have a parent pass, which is, it's kind of hard to do when you're 17, when you aren't a fully formed, mature adult yet. And so I had worked up so many stories in my own mind around, I'm incapable of completing things. I'm never going to graduate. I'm never going to be done with it. I have no idea what I'm doing afterwards. I felt a huge pressure around finding what my purpose was. And yet the whole time, energetically, underneath the surface, was this version of myself, this younger version of myself, that was like, please, can you just stop for a moment and acknowledge what's happening? And at that point in time, I didn't have the awareness or the wherewithal or the tools to really get at what was going on in my emotional world. I didn't know how to not just do the inner work, but do the inner build. The inner build is different than the inner work. With the inner work, there's this sense that you're always in process. It's like one thing after another. Like, what is it that I need to work on within myself? What is that? And it's like whack-a-mole. Like, as soon as you work through one thing, then another thing comes up and you're like, good Lord, how many things do I need to work on within myself? The inner build, however, is different. The inner build says, who are you really? Who are you becoming? Who have you been? And what are you building toward? And so it asks a different set of questions, and it acknowledges all of these little mini shifts that you make that are completions in and of themselves. And that was one of the first perspective shifts for me, to not only differentiate the inner work from the inner build, but to see why my lack of completion around college was what it was, and like what it was tied to. That was one of the more powerful entry points for me to begin to expand my intuition and begin to read the energy of this larger context, this underlying dynamic that was actually driving me. And I can guarantee you, after more than 20, I'd say my first client was, 2000, in the year 2000, so 26 years ago. I'm recording this in 2026. 26 years ago, my first client, and I can tell you over the years, over these past 2 decades, that every single client that I have had that has struggled to complete something, and again, that doesn't mean necessarily a task on your to-do list, though it could. It also means complete a story that you're telling yourself, complete a thought process. How many of you that are tuning into this tell yourself the same story again and again and again? And then you are like, oh, I finally shifted the story. And then you get into a new situation and out pops the old story. You're thinking, oh my gosh, I thought I was done with this, but nope, there it is again. It's just checking to see if you actually completed it. Did you complete it? So it can be a perspective. It can be a storyline that you tell yourself, what needs to be complete here. But what's also connected to completion is your expectations, how you expect things to go, and the pressure that you might put on yourself to do things in a certain kind of way. Like maybe you think completion equals the, point A, but really, if you really sat with it and you saw what's going on underneath the surface from a more energetic, intuitive perspective, you would see, oh, it's actually not about point A at all. It's about point B. And I didn't see that before. And so we want to look at what our expectations are with completing things, because oftentimes when you have self-doubt or questioning or you're stalling in some kind of way around completing something, it's like you go back, you reinvent the wheel again, you retitle the course, you redo the course, you rewrite this offer, you rewrite this website. It's like you basically don't allow anything to complete or land or end, because it would mean facing feelings and stories that you've been telling yourself to keep yourself in a small kind of lower position. So completion is directly tied with your self-worth, your self-judgment, and your self-leadership. Because those of us that are born to build the new, we know, whether we want to admit this, we often don't see ourselves as leaders, except we are. It's part of the wiring. It's part of the overall assignment. When you're born to build the new, you will naturally be a leader. Not in the old paradigm sense of you're meant to lead a crew of people or you're meant to show up and speak in a certain way, or we really have to redefine what leadership means, especially when it comes to self-leadership and leading our own lives. And so if you are underneath the surface brimming with self-doubt, self-judgment, self-worth issues, you won't let yourself complete. And so it really requires a different version of you to be built, to be intentionally cultivated. So you're beginning something, you're beginning this new energy, this new you, but at the same time, you've got to close out whatever it is that's trying to get your attention. Because if you're trying to make a switch between, wow, I have really low self-worth, I'm actually judging myself really harshly around whatever it is, and then you try to become the person that doesn't judge yourself any longer, good luck with that. It's a pretty big leap. There has to be a moment of acknowledgement where you're sitting with the version of you, not being the version of you, but really sitting with the version of you that has held you back from completing, and really seeing her or him, just really seeing this version of you. Wow. You feel really bad about yourself, don't you? Like you're really harsh on yourself. We need that acknowledgement piece. Otherwise, we're going to get swept up in the resistance to completing something because we're actually avoiding getting connected with the version of ourselves that held back, that is trying to suppress something. So that's part of the inner build. Now, I do want to give a nod to there's 3 specific gates within human design. So if you are new to human design, stay for the ride anyway. Maybe this will pique your interest and you'll start to explore a little bit more. If you're familiar with it and you want to add on to whatever it is that I'm about to share with you, then feel free to do that. Message me, go to my website, vasmith.com. Just hit the contact button and then drop me a line and share your perspective. I would love to hear as well. I try not to get too deep into astrology, human design, or the gene keys on the Born to Build the New podcast. I have another space for that, just so you know, if that's your jam and you're into geeking out around it. It's called The Design Decode, and it lives over on Substack. So thedesigndecode.substack.com. I should take you right there. But anyway, I have to bring this up because it's so relevant for this conversation, this episode. And those are the gates 40, 41, and 42. I know these because they figure prominently in my specific design charts. And so I feel very intimately familiar with all of these 3 numbers. But let me explain my understanding of what they're about. The 40 has to do with boundaries. It has to do with having clean agreements with other people, clean boundaries with other people. And so if you don't, especially for those of you that are energetically sensitive, our boundaries can be very porous. We may draw a boundary verbally, but energetically just take on somebody else's junk. And hold that as if it's our own, right? And so the 40 has to do with partnerships, agreements, boundaries, and do we have clear ones? And when you don't have clear boundaries, you often will feel perpetually incomplete because you're carrying other people's stuff and you're also leaking your own energy out into the world. It's like the boundaries just not there. I have this from a Gene Keys perspective in what's called the attraction sphere as well as the square. And I'm not going to get into the details of what that means here, but if you're familiar with the Gene Keys, you can look that up and learn more about the different spheres and what they go over. But I'm very familiar with the 40 and boundaries. It's been a lifelong theme for me, and you will feel incomplete. And that incompletion of, whether it's, again, a task or just a feeling that you carry, if you have the 40 defined in your chart, it may be more prominent for you, is that incompletion is there because it's trying to get you to draw a boundary. It's trying to get you to see where you're leaking your energy and where you're taking on somebody else's energy. So that's where the 40 figures into it. The 41 is all about beginning things. It's initiation. People that love to start things. I, again, have that in a very prominent place from a Gene Keys perspective. It's in my culture sphere. And so not only do I love to initiate, but when you start things, from a culture perspective, that's who I draw to me. I draw a lot of people that are initiators and they love to begin things. They, however, don't always love to complete them. So we start, we don't end. We start, we don't end. And so that can show up in a very loud way when you're trying to complete something. So you can go to, I believe it's just myhumandesign.com. Lots of people have it on that offer human design, where you can get a free profile. And if the number is colored in, it means it's defined. And so that theme, that energy psychology theme of that number is going to be more consistent for you, more amplified for you. So those are the 40 and the 41. And then the 42 is about endings, the rhythms of life. It's about completion. cycles, expectations. And so it's really looking at, like, do you allow things to end? Do you allow yourself to close out? Do you let go of your expectations so things can be what they are? And so the 40, 41, and 42, they all work together. And I happen to have that in my core wound and vocation sphere in my gene keys. And so the 40, 41, and 42 are very familiar to me. And I tend to draw a lot of clientele that are working through completion types of challenges. And so because of the energetic lens that I use and being able to see and read energy, this larger context of why people do what they do and are how they are, like what are the underlying dynamics at play, for me, it's very easy. It's like making a cup of tea to be able to read somebody energetically. And I can just zone right in on what it is that actually needs to be completed, what's going on underneath the surface. So whatever it is you're working on out in the external world can come to a close. So you can put it out there, so you can begin, so you can close out this old cycle and be present to what reality is presenting to you rather than staying attached to your rigid expectations about it. So look at your life. Look at what it is that you are building, whether that's building yourself, because that does absolutely count towards the new paradigm, building something like your purpose work for the paradigm shift as well, or perhaps you're building a relationship or you're building a home, wherever it is that you might struggle with completion, and ask yourself, what do I need to acknowledge? What's here inside of me that hasn't been closed out yet? And you can think of it kind of like cleaning house. It's like a spring cleaning in some ways, where it's like if you want to decorate your house in a certain way, but there's junk everywhere, you're not going to be able to decorate your house in the way that you want to decorate your house until you clean up all the junk everywhere. And so letting yourself see the right sequence. There really is a sequencing to it. You see what's actually driving your incompletion or your ability to not complete the thing. What's actually behind it? What's underneath the surface? Tune into the energy. Get a broader context here. And then sit with it, acknowledge it, integrate it. Let yourself be clear. Let yourself be complete with that. And then you'll notice that whatever it was that you're actually trying to build will start to finally move. And I don't know about you, but when my build is stuck and then it starts moving again, it is seriously the best feeling in the world. It's like, yes, finally. And I'd love for you to be experiencing that too. Speaking of things that I love, I'd also love to hear how this episode landed with you. Do let me know. Just pop over to my website, vasmith.com, and then click on that contact button. Share your thoughts. With that, wishing you well, take care, and I'll talk with you in the next episode.